Hi, my name is Alana. I'm 16. What are you proud of in your appearance? I am proud of my gorgeous hair. It would be a tragedy for me to lose it, but it happened. Watch this story to the end, and you will learn how I lost my hair but gained a loved one. I have a sister, Hannah, who is 15. But few people know about this because it is a real shame to have such a sister. She doesn't consider it necessary to look even a little cute. She has never gone to a party in her life. Of course, she never had a boyfriend, but she's smart. I mean, a complete nerd. So I try not to communicate with her in public and generally pretend that she does not exist. Will she understand my joy? I sent an application for the Miss 16 beauty contest, and I was accepted. This was the chance of my life. My friends helped me prepare. We came up with a cool outfit and an amazing event. The whole family came to support me, including Hannah. More people seemed to be looking at Hannah's ridiculous costume than at the stage. If someone realized that this scarecrow was my sister, I would be kicked out in disgrace. And here was the finale, me and some other girl. It was obvious to me, but the jury decided that we needed to complete another task. Oh my God, not this! Science quiz. It seemed I got into the Miss Nerd contest. I knew I was in trouble. Hannah knew all this for sure. I looked at her in despair. Hannah was sending me some signs. I tried to decipher them. It turned out so-so. And because of this stupid quiz, I lost the contest. Have you ever had an important mission go sour because of some stupid little thing? Write it in the comments how it happened. The world around me was suddenly gray and dark. Nothing pleased me. Hannah was babbling something. Just like an old grandmother, she said modern competitions were not only about beauty, but also about a harmonious, multifaceted personality. I asked as politely as I could for her to leave immediately. It's good that there are real friends in the world who came, comforted, told me what a terrible competitor I had. That's what I understand. A real support. I felt like I was coming to life. I even had the strength to find a new competition where I could be appreciated. But it turned out that geeks got in there too. The first stage was not a photo in the image or even a video of talents, but an essay on the topic external beauty is even more precious when it covers the internal. This phrase was invented by some Shakespeare. I googled him. Ugly, old, and bearded. Clearly, he did not understand anything about beauty. I spent 2 days without sleep or rest working on my essay. I even wrote the first line, but it didn't go any further. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Hannah brought me a cup of hot chocolate. I was so tired of this stupid essay that I even complained to Hannah, and she said she could help me. And in 2 hours, she wrote a huge text. There was everything that the jury might like. Something about ecology, something about world peace, and some other bullshit. Anyway, Hannah's essay received a high score and I was called to the next stage. In honor of my success, my friends threw a huge party. The day before, my mother called me aside and said that it would be nice to thank Hannah and call her too. But she would disgrace me there. Although, to be fair, she did help me. I told Hannah to come, but to dress decently so that I wouldn't have to blush for her. She promised me faithfully. I came to the party earlier. Hannah still had to go to the library. So I only found out about her arrival when I was asked to go see the horror show. She was standing in the doorway in the dress I was going to throw away with her curls straightened. One of the girls said she was like me if I had been a comedy character. Throughout the party, I tried not to meet Hannah or even be in the same room with her. I would have called my party a failure if it wasn't for Zach. He was my friend's brother, a very cute and awesome pitcher. At this party, we finally managed to communicate properly. I think he liked me too. Then, at the most crucial moment, Hannah barged into the room and demanded that I talk to her. Why were these smart people so crazy? I explained to her as best as I could that she was a little out of time, and she whined and ran home. What a relief. Zach was very cool, but it was time to go home. I already imagined what I would get from my parents for hurting my poor little sister. But everything was quiet at home. According to the folks' version, Hannah just left early so as not to oversleep for school. Here's the news. Hannah didn't go snitching. Why such a gift? However, she refused to explain anything to me. She ignored me. On the weekend, we went to see new furniture for our rooms. And we met Zach at the store. What a surprise! Hannah suddenly turned as red as a tomato at the sight of Zach. Why would that be? And when Zach asked me out, she stepped on my foot with all her might. When I howled, Hannah said in a sweet voice that our parents were waiting for us, so we should hurry. And she took me away from Zach. Am I so lucky? Or are your siblings also interfering with your personal life? Tell us in the comments if you have had this experience. For the second stage of the competition, it was necessary to prepare a musical number. I made up a great story. At the beginning of the number, I would have a high hairstyle with a lot of ribbons, like in the series about the French Queen. And in the middle of the song, I would let my hair down in one movement and it would fall over my shoulders. For the number, I needed a person who would stand in the wings and hand me the props. As luck would have it, none of my friends could. Suddenly, Hannah said that she would be happy to help me. Just before my number, I ran into the dressing room for a second and suddenly caught my hair on the hanger. What fool put it there? I was in the trap. Neither here nor there. In my desperation, I started screaming for help. Hannah came running. She tried to pull the hanger out of my hair, but it was stuck. Hannah said that she would have to cut the ribbons. It was a disaster, but I decided it was better than being tied to a hanger. I decided to change the number. I would go out immediately with my hair down. Hannah took a pair of scissors, and then I saw my own hair flying at my feet. I jerked to get out and pulled out a huge chunk of my hair. I felt my head. It was a nightmare. Creepy, shaggy, blunt bob. It was beyond repair. With such a nightmare on your head, you can't show yourself to people. I lunged at Hannah, but she dodged me. She started yelling at me, sobbing. It turned out that she had been in love with Zach for ages, and she was wildly jealous that Zach had chosen me over her. And she decided to take revenge. I ran away. And from this competition where I could only disgrace myself, and from damned Hannah. Of course, the hair couldn't be saved, but maybe I could still think of something. It would be better to wear a wig so that no one could see the horror on my head. But at home, another portion of the nightmare was waiting for me. Someone had already uploaded my photos from behind the scenes online, and under them, there were already a lot of comments with laughing and vomiting emoticons. One girl from our class, who I thought was my friend, had even done a meme. Your photo before and after walking through the trash. There were jokes in my DMs, such as whether I now worked as a scarecrow and whether I cut my hair with a lawnmower. Ha ha. I decided not to leave the house until my hair grew back. I sat there and hated myself. Everyone laughed at me and bullied me, like they did with Hannah. My God, it turned out that my sister experienced this every day. Poor Hannah. How strong she had to be that she didn't break. I cried because I was among those who bullied my sister. I ran to Hannah and begged her to forgive me. She apologized for her stupid outburst, but I thanked her. It wasn't until I lost my gorgeous hair that I could understand how my sister felt. I promised Hannah that I would help her become beautiful. We went shopping together and I helped her choose beautiful modern clothes. I taught her how to make up. I showed her that she could be absolutely beautiful, but not the way I was. Hannah was happy. And for the first time, I felt that I had done something good for someone close to me. And it was as good as winning the coolest beauty contest. Put a like if you like my story. Subscribe to the channel. There will be a lot more interesting stories here.
Hi, I'm Zoe, and I'm 16 years old. Have you ever felt like an outcast in society? When you are shunned and even afraid of what would you do if you were bullied and laughed at because of your appearance? Watch this video to the end, and you will learn how to live with an ugly face. You rarely think about the fact that appearance can affect your life so much, especially when you like your own. Every day, I received compliments, and all the friends of my parents were touched by seeing me and cherished my beauty. After all, my mother is a cosmetologist, and my father is a plastic surgeon. And of course, people who create beauty had the most beautiful child. I was actively involved in cheerleading, was one of the most popular girls in school, and even ran for school president. I had a handsome boyfriend, David. Almost all the girls wanted to be me, and I enjoyed it. My life was just a fairy tale that ended after that day. I was driving to school with my boyfriend. We had fun chatting and not really watching the road. I never used a seatbelt because I thought that nothing bad would happen to me. But suddenly, a car flew out at us, and David lost control of his car. Suddenly, I felt a huge force that threw us to the side of the road. I felt the shards of glass bite into my face, and it felt numb. Have you ever been in an accident? Then you understand that I was in a state of shock at the time, so I don't remember much. My face was healing for a month, and I had to walk around with my head completely bandaged. I felt a daily cutting pain. Every day was unbearable. I thought it was the worst thing that could have happened to me in all the time, until my bandages were removed. For the first time since the accident, I went to the mirror to look at myself and felt a shock. The scars were so deep that they left terrible marks on my face, as if someone had just slashed me with a knife and left me like this. Because the skin was covered with scars, its color no longer perfectly even, but resembled burns, and the whole picture was completed by my no longer perfect nose with a hump, which could only be hidden by a burqa. Was it really me? No. I was looking at a completely different person. Now I looked like a real freak from a horror movie. The whole face was horribly scarred and marked. The eyebrows were disfigured and left in shreds, and the eyes were full of fright. It wasn't me anymore. There was no trace of the last beauty left. I came home and just locked myself in my room. I didn't go out for several days, and I didn't want to eat or drink. I broke all the mirrors in my room because I just couldn't look at myself. Tears stung my face because of recent wounds. I felt terrible. My sweet and beautiful face turned into this, and now I had to live with it. My parents tried to support me. I was scheduled for a hospital checkup in a week to see if I had any complications, so we tried to talk less about it. One evening, I overheard my dad talking on the phone with a doctor. He was talking about me. I couldn't stand it. I ran up to ask if there was anything I could do with my ugly face. My father promised me that he would do everything possible to get me back to normal. My dad knew a surgeon who could help me. I began to believe that I would be able to look at my reflection in the mirror again. But on my checkup, my hopes were dashed. The doctor said that even the smallest surgical interventions should not be performed now. Everything inside me collapsed. The sick day was almost over, and I had to go to school soon, which was my worst nightmare. I had already seen school children shy away from me, get scared, and call me names. No one saw me on sick day except my parents, but thousands of eyes would see me at school. When Day X arrived, I wanted the ground to swallow me up just so that no one would notice me. As soon as I opened the school door, I realized that I was no one here anymore. My popularity was gone. David didn't even talk to me. And all my friends seemed to support me, but behind my back they laughed and came up with the offensive nickname, Freddie. I huddled in the corner between the lockers and sobbed there. But one girl I used to bully came up to me and supported me. It was unexpected, so I just pushed her away and ran away. Each new day was even harder. I tried to apply a ton of makeup, but it didn't save my face, and the patches didn't help either. So I started covering my face with my hair, pushing it forward, putting on my hood, and slouching. But it didn't get any better. Everyone was laughing at me and calling me names. But that girl, she supported me, and over time, we started communicating. Her name was Sally. I didn't understand why she was doing this, but thanks to her, I began to smile more often. After a month, I had gradually gained confidence and began to pay less attention to the taunts from the outside. Did they ever laugh at you at school? Then you know exactly how I felt. I tried to continue to live my life, and it seemed like everyone around me had already got used to my appearance. It was easier for me. And then, everything was going downhill again. I was kicked out of the cheerleading team, told that my face scared people away. The boys on the football team refused to support me. It was a real stab in the back. I had been doing this for more than 2 years, and then I got kicked out. I was crushed. On the same day, I was banned from running for president of the school. As soon as I came to terms with the consequences of the accident and the ugly situation at school, I was broken again. I felt the injustice, but I couldn't do anything about it. I no longer tried to do anything to protect myself, as I did not feel the support of others. It became even harder for me to open up and trust people, so I became depressed. I started skipping school and closing myself in my room more and more often. And one of those days, someone knocked on my door. I opened it and saw a courier with a package, signed it, and started unpacking it. I didn't believe what I saw. It was a topical ointment against such damage on the face as mine. I was delighted and immediately smeared it all over my face. I thought the cream would definitely help me. When my dad arrived, I started to hug him and was happy, but he immediately explained that the ointment was experimental and there were no guarantees for the result. My hopes were dashed again. Was I just going to be ugly forever? I closed the door, went to the mirror, and, choking with tears and resentment, grabbed a piece of scissors and hysterically cut my hair in the bathroom. I decided that if my face always remained like this, at least the image would match. In the room, I found a black and red striped sweatshirt, found black pants and a hat, trying to look like the one whose nickname I was given. This time, I was ready to go to school. When I opened the school door, time seemed to stop in the corridor. Everyone was looking at me. Even though my new image looked terrible, that wasn't the reason. When I got closer to the election counters, I found my own, and behind it stood Sally, who was shouting slogans for me. I thought everyone was laughing at me again and abruptly started ripping flyers off the walls and throwing them in the trash. Sally tried to stop me, but I pushed her away and ran away crying. All eyes were on me. Sally caught up with me and began to calm me down. She explained everything to me. It turned out that all this time, she was negotiating with the principal to allow me to participate in the elections, and he was outraged that I was forbidden to do so. The principal was shocked that I was treated this way, so everyone who voted for my removal was banned from participating in the election. I didn't believe it was real. They really supported me. 2 days ago, the election ended, and thanks to my knowledge and Sally's efforts, I was elected president. For a long time, I was really happy. Performing in front of large crowds helped me reduce my appearance. I don't know what will happen next, but I was happy to participate, and I think I started to feel the ground under my feet again. I try not to think about the accident and try to move on. Did you ever have any problems with your appearance? If so, write your story in the comments, put likes, subscribe to the channel, and have a nice day.
I turned to the mirror and didn't recognize myself in reflection. There was a huge scar all over my face. It was convex and vile. I was a real freak, so no guy could like me. Thank God that scar is fake. I'm participating in an experiment from one fashion magazine. The goal is to see if I can find a boyfriend with such an ugly scar on my face in 3 days. If I manage, I'll get paid $1,000. My family was poor, and I couldn't dress cool and buy modern gadgets like everyone's. I felt a little outcast because of that. It's so humiliating being a beggar. Albeit beautiful, so I really needed that money. The curator forbade any way to insinuate that my scar was fake. If it popped up, then I definitely would never get the money. And every 3 hours, I had to send them my pics to chat so they make sure the scar was intact. But the thing was that I cheated the curators from the beginning. I have got a boyfriend, so it's sure to be easy money. I'm confident in my boyfriend, Zach. He always said he would love me no matter what. I went to school, and everyone of course began to look back at me. Zach stood near the biology office and chatted animatedly with friends. Zach, I'm here. Seeing me, he staggered off. I lied that I had an accident, and I said I loved him very much. But Zach replied with abomination that he couldn't date such a freak and just walked away. What? How? But he told me he would always be around. I had a hard time sitting out my lesson. But then I ran to the toilet. I wanted to get this makeup off sooner. And then I heard some girls whispering next to the stall. One of them said handsome Zach had finally dumped that freak and had already asked the main cheerleader out on a date. I was so bitter and resentful, but Zach would yet regret abandoning me. I came out of the toilet and confidently went to the gym. There was usually rugby team captain Chris practicing. He and Zach had long been at odds. I will win Chris, get money for the experiment, and at the same time, take revenge on Zach dating with his arch enemy. I walked up to Chris and immediately started flirting. That's what I knew. But he just rolled with laughter. He said that I was a beggar woman, and now with an ugly scar. What a jerk. I wanted to leave and pushed Chris, but he cornered me and started taking photos of me on the phone. Get off, Chris. That's enough. But he held me so tight that I couldn't even run away. But suddenly someone called out to Chris. That was the nerd from my class, Cody. He said the coach was looking for Chris everywhere. He let me go and quickly left. And I told the nerd Cody that I would have managed myself. Cody immediately apologized and said he just wanted to help and then offered a ride to the house. I didn't want to be seen with this loser. But I didn't seem to mind a car ride. And then it turned out he had a stupid bicycle. While we were on the way, I burned with shame, but it was better than listening to the chuckles of passengers on the bus. And Cody looked at me that and then. What are you looking at, loser? And then I thought, Cody was perfect for the experiment. I will quickly fascinate this muff and show the curators that I still found a guy. So when we drove up to my house, I asked him out on a romantic date in gratitude for the rescue. But Cody suddenly hesitated and said abruptly he was very busy in the evening and immediately left. I didn't believe my eyes. Did he just reject me? Damn. And I have little time until the end of the experiment. The next day at school was even worse. Everyone at school knew about my ugliness and called me names. And Zach began to avoid me and even hit a couple of times. But that's okay. I'll survive it. Now my goal is the nerd Cody. So I threw a nice note with 2 tickets to the cinema in his locker and wrote that I would wait for him after the lessons at the black door. As soon as the bell rang, I headed eagerly there. Cody will be mine. But local hooligans were standing there instead of Cody. They quickly looked over and the man ripped my backpack out of my hands. I tried to resist, but they grabbed me and held me while their ringleader searched for money in my backpack. And when he realized that there was nothing, he aimed it at a tree. Then I stepped on one guy's foot with all my strength and broke free. I wanted to take away my backpack, but I hurt my leg and bashed straight into the puddle. The guys only laughed loudly. When suddenly Cody appeared out of nowhere again. He so deftly knocked down the ringleader that the others immediately ran away.
Look at you, nerd!
He lifted me out of the dirt, took my backpack, and helped get to the bicycle. I asked him where he had learned this, to which he said he had once done karate. We were already late for the movie, so Cody offered to go home. This time I did mind. I even liked yesterday's bike ride. At home, Cody made me a compress from which the pain in my legs subsided. This was the perfect moment to get closer. I had already bent over to kiss him, but suddenly Cody pulled away and asked, where did I get that scar from? Was he dumping me again? And then Cody looked at me with sympathy and admitted that he understood what it was like to have a defect on the body. Like no one else. What are you about? At this point, Cody unbuttoned his shirt and showed me a huge, ugly scar on his chest. I hadn't seen such in my life. It turned out that as a child, Cody underwent severe heart surgery, but the scar never went away. He was constantly bullied, and because of this, he even neglected his favorite occupation, swimming. Now he even did go to the beach so as not to undress. I suddenly became so embarrassed. I had only been scarred for 2 days, but I was really sick of the jeers. And the scar was fake, all for money. But for Cody, this was a real problem. At this moment, I received a reminder from the curator. Hurry up, there are only 2 days left. I realized there was an urgent need to act and invited Cody to the beach. When he saw me in a bikini, he would immediately agree to be my boyfriend. I began to say that scars should not prevent us from doing what we like, and that if I could walk around with a scar on my face, Cody should stop being shy too. I was scared that he would refuse me, but Cody said he had to think and would give an answer late in the evening. If he refuses, I won't get the money and everything was for nothing. So I was on edge all the evening. But suddenly a text came to me from Cody. He said he thought this through and would pick me up in the morning. The last day of experiment came in the morning and Cody and I went to the beach. There I began to strip to the swimsuit. Cody kept looking around and seemed very tense. I took his hand and said it wasn't as scary as he thought. He just had to decide once. Cody agreed and took off his shirt, but still tried to cover the scar with his hand. And that's where the ball came under our feet. It was Chris with his guys. They began to laugh at us and call us freaks from the Addams family. Cody immediately blushed, but I strongly took his hand. Let's go swimming, away from these dorks. We entered the water. Cody was delighted. It turned out he missed swimming a lot. We swam to a rock nearby that hid us from everywhere. Our eyes met, and Cody hesitatingly said he was in love with me in middle school. I did not expect this. He came close to kissing me, and I realized I didn't mind. But suddenly Cody changed in his face. Cody, what happened? I touched my scar, and I realized that silicone had peeled off the skin. I tried to stick it back, but it got worse. The scar just fell off my face. Oh no, I tried to explain to Cody about the experiment, but he didn't want to listen. He said he understood everything. I was with these rugby players and just wanted to expose him as an idiot. He immediately ran ashore and quickly left. Cody, wait! I came ashore and burst into tears at the understanding that Cody was the only one who treated me well. Even despite the scar and poverty, I messed it up. But at the same minute, the curator called via video link to find out the progress with the completion of the experiment and saw that there was no scar left. That's when the curator stated that they were depriving me of a cash prize. The experiment failed, but I didn't care. I cried for an hour and then headed home. And when I slammed the front door, someone knocked on it. It was Cody. He was probably following me. But Zach was on the doorstep, my ex. He quickly began to assure that he realized everything. I was the most beautiful girl in the world. I just had to tell him about the makeup right away. But I just slammed the door in front of Zach. I was very angry at this hypocrite and didn't want to listen to his apology. Then I decided that tomorrow I would apologize to Cody. He was now more important to me than any gadgets and money. In the morning, at school, I started looking for Cody. He sat in the dining room. I sat down nearby and started apologizing. It was all a terrible mistake, but Cody ignored me and headed for the exit. I didn't know what to do. In the meantime, I noticed how other guys were looking at me with sympathy. Screw you all. I only need Cody. Then I climbed on the table, called him loudly, and in front of everyone admitted that he was the best person I had ever met. I wanted to be with him, and I apologized for deceiving him. But Cody didn't even turn around. Was he gone and we would never be able to communicate again for the first time? I felt what it means when you lose a dear person. How suddenly Cody, pushing the crowd aside, climbed on the table and kissed me. Everyone around clapped and loved. I put my hand on Cody's chest and felt the scars, and suddenly I realized that the heart of an incredibly beautiful person was beating behind them. I whispered, "It doesn't matter what you have outside and what you look like. The main thing is what a soul you have." At the same moment, I received a text from the curator about a new experiment. I need to spend a year in a relationship without quarrels. I agreed and thought, what if Cody and I could live like this all our life?